In my morning segment, I asked you all what would happen if Donald Trump refused to surrender, or if upon his surrendering, he was remanded to custody. The point I was trying to make, that I think bears repeating, is that we stand on the precipice. Think about it. What would happen if Trump said, your charges are frivolous and I will not surrender? The legal system would be challenged. And what's the Secret Service going to do? Defend Trump if they try to extradite him? It's crazy. Would the federal government intervene? What if when Trump goes to surrender tomorrow morning, they remand him to custody? What if when Donald Trump lands in New York, they remand him to custody immediately? We have breaking news from Brett Baer, who tweets, Fox News is told multiple U.S. Secret Service agents connected to former President Donald Trump have been subpoenaed and are expected to testify before the D.C. grand jury likely on Friday. The grand jury appearances are related to the special counsel Jack Smith probe into the handling of classified documents at Mar-a-Lago. Ladies and gentlemen, it appears there is a second indictment looming. You think they're going to stop here? They're going after Trump at the state and federal level. So what happens if they stop the Republican frontrunner from... Look, this is a conversation I have with a lot of people. Okay? Government is confidence. That's it. I was having this conversation just this past weekend to explain to people how close we are to the end of this country. Confidence is everything. If you go out to a grocery store, you have confidence that if you take something without paying for it, you will get in trouble in some capacity. Maybe they'll grab you and take it from you. Maybe the cops will show up. But what we're seeing across this country in major cities, that confidence is being destroyed. Criminals are running rampant, and law-abiding citizens know that criminals will be released. There is no confidence in social order. Confidence in government that if you do something wrong, you'll be held accountable. Well, Donald Trump is facing a second indictment. What did he do? Hillary Clinton did worse things. Nothing. Confidence shattered. You know, the founding fathers believed in the rights of the innocent, being innocent until proven guilty, the right to trial by a jury of your peers, the Fifth Amendment, all that good stuff. And a lot of people think, simply put, they were good, principled men who said, look, if you're innocent, we're going to try and help you. It's not so simple. One of the principal reasons for the Fifth Amendment, and I believe the Sixth and the Fourth, well, for all of them, to be completely honest, but when it comes to jurisprudence, criminal courts, etc., one of the main reasons why you are innocent until proven guilty is that the founding fathers feared that in a society where even if you're innocent, you will be imprisoned, no one has confidence that being innocent is the proper path to take. That is to say, if you live in a society where I believe it was Otto von Bismarck who said it is better that 10 innocent people suffer than one guilty person escape. His idea was you can't let the guilty off. Everyone must be under the boot to create social order. But the inverse is true. It's like a Chinese finger trap. The harder you pull, the tighter it becomes. If a regular law-abiding citizen says, I've been following the law, I've been playing by the rules, and they've arrested me and charged me, and they're giving me no benefit of doubt, no ability to defend myself, why did I ever bother being a good person? You get it? In these cities, we are seeing criminals engage in criminal behavior, thinking to themselves, it doesn't matter anyway. They'll let you out. And law-abiding citizens are saying, what's the point? Why should I be the only one playing by the rules if I could risk getting arrested anyway? It's a narco-tyranny. Now, the problem we're facing in this country is that they're releasing criminals and arresting their political opponents. I hope you realize where this is all going, indicting Donald Trump. Now, if history tells us anything, in the long run, it will make Donald Trump more popular, and it will probably result in his, landslide election. We have this from Axios. We have two stories. This one's from April 1st. Scoop. Trump raises over $5 million since indictment news. $5 million. It's amazing. $4 million in the first 24 hours. How much money do you think he's going to make today when they announce his arrival in New York City? How much money do you think he'll make tomorrow when they post his mugshot online? Now, look, we are in the dangerous early stages of civil war. I am not exaggerating, and I have absolute confidence in saying that. And I will explain once again to all of you exactly why. What happens if Donald Trump is remanded to custody upon landing at around, 1 or 2 p.m. in New York City? Now, of course, many people may believe, and this is probably correct, that when Donald Trump's plane lands, he will simply go to Trump Tower. They'll negotiate his surrender tomorrow. But in any other circumstance, that wouldn't happen. Any other felon indicted on 34 any other individual indicted on 34 counts, you land your plane, the cops are going to be waiting for you. And they're going to say, sir, you're under arrest. But we'll see. We're talking white collar crime, I guess. And we're talking about people who are still trying to have some delicacy in how they handle this because everyone's trying to make sure they make the right moves. The point is simply this. In any other circumstance, Donald Trump would be remanded to custody. Any other suspect or accused would be remanded to custody. Now, of course, I understand they'll be granted bail, but you think they're going to let Trump leave the state? They're going to say you have a residence here. Okay, you own a building here. You're wanted on crimes here. We're not letting you leave the state. You can't leave the state. Ankle-monder, something of that effect. Stop Donald Trump from campaigning. I don't know exactly what they'll do. My point is just this. They will probably give Donald Trump special treatment because he is a former president, and this is unprecedented. But just imagine how close we are. Imagine if Trump just said no, and he could. That's it. Overnight. In the meantime, I think they're actually helping Trump, and their only move is hardball. But Donald Trump is raising money like crazy off of this. And as I showed in my earlier segment from Robert C. Cahaly, new GOP presidential primary from Trafalgar Group polls shows a changing Donald Trump lead based on indictment talk. Before the indictment announcement, he was up 12 points. After, he was up 14. And after the actual indictment was dropped, up 33. That's amazing. From the Trafalgar Group, who do you plan on supporting in the upcoming Republican presidential primary? Donald Trump at 56.2%, followed by Ron DeSantis. I love this one. You want to call this poll fake news? Sure. Liz Cheney has 10.3%. Look, I think that says enough about what's wrong with this country. Liz Cheney? How does she have more than Larry Elder? Vivek Ramaswamy, 0.5. I like Vivek. He's great. How is he underneath Liz Cheney? Yep. Yeah, we're headed to dark places, I guess. Here we go. So this is, we've got 3 images, and I guess these are, yeah. So Liz Cheney actually dramatically improves after the indictment talk, which is funny. Who took the biggest hit? This is interesting. DeSantis at 32. DeSantis goes to 30. And now DeSantis is at 22%. DeSantis is plummeting. Look at this. DeSantis is plummeting. I think that's absolutely fascinating, but I think I'm right about it. Ron DeSantis, in response to this, has shown utter weakness. It's unfortunate. But that's the reality. He was trailing Trump. It was Trump. Look at this. Before the indictment, it was 43.8 to Ron DeSantis 32.2. After Trump declared indictment, it was 44.4 for Trump, 30 points for DeSantis. And then when the indictment dropped, Ron DeSantis drops to 22. And I will tell you why, if you haven't heard it already. It's because Ron DeSantis played the weakest possible hand he could have played. Leave me out of it. And then people like me, who actually like DeSantis and are fairly moderate, went, no way, sorry. And that was big. I like DeSantis. I'll say it again. I say it 50 billion times. He's a great, great governor. But he showed such a weak hand. If he came out, as I've stated a billion times, and said, mark my words, you will not lay a finger on Donald Trump. He will not be extradited. and I will use the full weight of my office and law enforcement of this state to stop a political persecution. I'd voted for him. I'd have been like, look, man, you know, Trump's doing well, but Ron DeSantis is showing that strength that we need. He doesn't have it. Sorry, man. I like the DeSantis team. I like the things he's doing, but he just doesn't have that strength. Trump has it too much. Trump's kind of a dick. If Trump had more tact, Carrie Lake's got it. We'll see what happens with her. Take a look at this from Politico. The data's clear. The indictment makes Republicans like Trump more. There were a number of public surveys conducted in the lead up to the indictment, and they all showed a similar story. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. They say the indictment of former President Trump is likely to deliver a temporary boost to him in the GOP primary. Temporary? But at the expense of his standing among the broader electorate that will ultimately decide whether he returns to the White House. That's according to recent polling conducted prior to Thursday's news of blah, 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 blah. Here's the point. Democrats want Trump to win. They do. They would prefer not to have DeSantis. They are doing things that boost Trump in the primary because this was the strategy they had in the midterms. Trial balloon, and it may have worked. The idea was to help MAGA Republicans actually win so that people vote for Democrats. Faced with a Democrat or a MAGA Republican, people would choose the Democrats. And that may be the case. That may be the case. But I think the real issue is that the times they are a-changin'. People are starting to wake up and realize what MAGA Republicans are. Moderate populists. Yeah, moderate. It's fascinating, really. I got a segment coming up for you at 4. Talk about Bill Maher and how he doesn't believe that schools are having drag queens give lap dances to children. He's like, no, that's not happening. And it is, because he doesn't pay attention. So for those of you that watch a show like mine, first, become a member at timcast.com to support our work. Join us, join our Discord, join the community. Share the story with your friends, because that's the point I'm getting to. You know, because you watch me pull up the sources. I'm reading Politico. I'm reading Trafalgar. So there's a question about all of this when it comes to the extremism that we're seeing in this country. How come people don't know about it? It's not in the news. When I asked this guy, I mentioned in the earlier segment, if he knew about the 529 insurrection at the White House, he said, I don't know anything about that. And I said, isn't that weird, though? You see, this is one of the challenges of messaging. Now, at the same time, you know, I'm hanging out at Maryland Live. A lot of people were like, yo, recognize me, big fan. And I'm thinking to myself, of these people who recognize me, are you having these conversations? Now, don't get me wrong. The guy I'm talking to was very, very angry and despised Donald Trump. I'm not going to try and agitate him or make him angry. He was very emotional about it. But I told him about 529. I asked him why he didn't know about it. I try and do that. I just say, look, man, you believe what you want to believe. I'm not here to make you angry or anything. But you didn't know about this other instance, this other event? This is the challenge we face, and it's an information war. If everybody knew about 529, they'd stop and ask themselves, well, January 6th was bad, for sure. But how come we're not talking about what happened at the White House? How come I didn't know about that? Where's the funny thing? We talk about it. The news reported it. That's how I find these sources. But on the national level, the conversation does not reach. These topics are never brought to the general public. And for obvious reason. They don't want you to know about it. That's the point. If the only thing this guy thinks is that Donald Trump staged an insurrection, and he doesn't know that the far left did basically the same thing, forcing the president into an emergency bunker well before January 6th happened. In fact, January 6th may be partly in response to what we saw at the Summer of Love. If they don't even know about it, all they see in the media is Trump is bad. And they don't realize that for people like us, we're sitting here watching a tit for tat. We're watching far left extremism and then a right-wing response, which is, I got to be honest, lesser in many circumstances. The media will try and claim that a regular dude driving home from work who gets attacked by Black Lives Matter is a white supremacist because he defended himself. This is the challenge that we face. People don't know about it. So here's my point. As you and I probably sit here saying, yes, we're more likely to support Trump following this because he's showing strength and DeSantis isn't. Well, people on the left or people in the middle who aren't getting this messaging because they're not in the modern communication sphere, they're going to vote for Biden. They're going to vote for Kamala. They're going to vote for a Democrat. And that's what the Democrats are hoping on. Messaging is everything. So what can we do? Man, I don't know. Share videos like this, I guess. Share this video if you think it's important. Let people know what they're doing and why they're doing it and how dangerously close to the edge we are. What's the problem? Let me ask you something. Donald Trump loses in 2020. The Democrats cheer, and Donald Trump whines and moans about, all that stuff. I don't care to get into it. If Democrats were so confident that they could win, why would they bother doing this? So for those of you that may not be familiar with everything going on in politics over the past several years in depth as we do, consistent viewers of the show and I just ask yourself, why is a DC grand jury coming after Trump? And why is a New York grand jury coming after Trump? I mean, you may think, well, if Trump committed a crime, he should be charged, right? Sure. But they could wait until after an election cycle when Trump's done, right? Are you saying that the implication is they're using these indictments to prevent Trump from winning? Well, why would they need to do that? Trump lost in 2020, right? He'll lose again. Why would they need to use indictments to stop him? You're right. Yeah, these are just because he committed crimes. It's presumed. That's why they're going after him. So they're risking the fabric of this nation's electoral system because Donald Trump may have a campaign finance violation. But that's what it was about. Because he may have had classified documents. Biden had classified documents. Hillary had classified documents. Barack Obama had classified documents. So what's going on? Have you asked yourself why Trump and not anybody else? Do you care? These are the questions that I have. And so it may be that Ron DeSantis stands a much better chance of winning a general than Donald Trump. Considering the Democrat field, that may be the case. That may be the case. Donald Trump may be the favorite for the GOP. And I have these Republicans sending me these polls. No, you got to look at the polls, Tim. They're like, independents favor Trump. I'm like, dude, Republican-leaning independents favor Trump. But independents in general are split. It's like 60-40. Many independents lean Democrat. And that's how it's always been. Republicans only win when they slightly convince more moderates. The problem is too many people do not pay attention to what is happening around them. The big news, I suppose, is that Donald Trump is facing a second indictment. A second indictment. You think they were going to stop at the state level? This is their excuse. It's their plan. Merrick Garland will say, look, a grand jury issued an indictment. We have no choice but to move in. And then Donald Trump will be remanded somewhere. He will be unable to travel, unable to campaign. And they hope that will choke him out. That will stop him from being able to spread a message. Maybe. There have been some world leaders in the past who have been imprisoned. Some of them considered heroes, like Nelson Mandela. Some of them considered the most evil men in the history of the planet. And you know who I'm talking about. Some of the most evil individuals, if not, the most. Though, to be fair, Stalin, also an extremely evil individual. I think you just call evil what it is, evil. But we know that the imprisonment of individuals martyrs them, in a sense. I mean, they're still alive. But it turns them into heroes. And then when they get out, they win. Now, if Donald Trump does get arrested, charged, and goes to jail, I don't think they'll ever let him out. They're going to do what they did to Julian Assange to Donald Trump. That's a strong lesson. Now, I do want to give a shout out to Don Jr., because we asked him on Friday about Julian Assange, and he said, you got to get these guys out. You got to pardon them. Snowden, Assange, you got to do it. And I'm just like, wow, that's a bold statement. Because I expected something a bit more wishy-washy, to be honest. Something like, I think we've definitely got to look, at the very least, we got to drop the nonsense, drop the charges. I don't know about a pardon because I don't know to what extent the United States, I expect something. No, he's outright. Excuse me, man, got a frog in my throat. He said outright, no. Let him go. Get him out. They're going to do to Trump what happened to Assange. They're going to lock him up, and they're going to make sure he can't do anything. They're going to say he can win, but he can't pardon himself from a state jail. Sorry. They'll give him 6 years. You really believe that Donald Trump will be acquitted by a New York jury? Do you really think New Yorkers will acquit Donald Trump? No, they won't. Trump surrendering begins the end. That's it. I don't know what'll happen to this country if Donald Trump is jailed and can't effectively run for president. Because they might say, oh, he can run, but they're going to inhibit him. They're going to drain his coffers, keep him locked up as long as they can, maybe not permanently, give Ron DeSantis an edge, and then maybe he loses because the GOP is split. That may be their plan, but I'll just leave it with this. A second indictment looming. A former president has never been criminally charged before, yet here we are. Potentially, it could be twice. Of course, Donald Trump's raising money off of it. It's working out for him. But I wonder if we already stepped off the edge of that cliff. You know, I said we're staying on the precipice, that we are but a single word away from total collapse of this country. Donald Trump saying no. But he's decided to play ball. Maybe we already walked off the edge, and it is an inevitability that the clash comes to Donald Trump, and then eventually he's forced to say no. Because I'll put it this way. If Donald Trump is convicted by a jury in New York, do you really think he will surrender to sentencing, to remand, to be jailed? How would that even happen? Is the Secret Service going to be with him in jail? Dark times indeed, my friends. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you all then.